Hello, what's going on, y'all? It's Zed here, back with another video. Today I'm going to be going over exactly what needs to be kind of looked at in every school, going from the most broken schools all the way to the worst schools in solo queue currently. And I kind of want to talk about exactly what needs to be changed on each school and what needs to be buffed. And I kind of want to make this very quick. I don't want to really waste time here and get into the video. So, first things first, I think we kind of need to look at Death right now. Death is kind of pretty broken on weaknesses, and that is something that a lot of people really say that it's kind of like a snooze fest, pretty much just playing against another Death. You pretty much just completely just sit there and just spam Headless and Monster Mash and Poison and play for a Grim and an Elephant. It's pretty boring. Poison is probably one of the worst spells I've ever seen. That's recently been actually implemented for Death. I believe the previous Poison was actually way better than this. It's actually crazy how you can actually, for example, if you're playing a Storm, you can't, you know what I mean? You cannot negative aura a Death, which is insane to think about, because let's just say they brace for literally 100 resist, and you attenuate that off, and then they poison, and technically you can't poison, you know what I mean? You can like they can poison you, but like you can't change their aura, which is crazy because Monster Mash will deal almost 1700 damage to you and give you 2 weaknesses. So it's completely unplayable against a Storm. It needs to be looked at. Weaknesses needs to be nerfed. They should not put any more weaknesses into the game. And that is my thought on Death. So moving forward with Fire, um, obviously Fire is completely broken, and I kind of want to put this school at second. It needs a lot of nerfs, but I technically have a couple of spells that I want to say that is completely broken, which is Krampus, Brimstone, and Abba. Abba is technically, it definitely needs to be removed from the game. It's completely unnatural for the game. You can actually not take Lash if you detonate one of these shots, and it does a lot of damage to you, which is kind of like insane to think about. Hidden Feints is completely another problem. I don't really care about OTs. I feel like these two spells are completely okay. Like, it's not a big deal, in my personal opinion. They should be able to do their damage, and it's completely fine. But when you have these spells, like Abba detonating 2 spells for 145% for free, this is going to become a problematic. Brimstone also Hidden Feint. This is why Raging Bull, it's completely stupid, because you technically can't shield against them as well, because they will path be health off of that and get like a decent hit and feint, you know what I mean, damage on you, if that makes sense. So Hephaestus just banned the TC. I feel like they spam. A lot of people spam this. They could just dig for it. You can just peace serve it. It's pretty broken. Main deck can definitely stay. I don't care. The reason why I put this Raging Bull um, on the picture is because I feel like if we need to detonate spells, they need to be shads, and if we're gonna keep detonates in the game, they need to be shads. So let's remove these 3 spells out of the game. You can nerf Brimstone by just simply giving them a 35% buff instead of a feint. Please and thank you. These spells are okay; they can stay. We don't really care about them. But when you're able to detonate them for a lot of damage, that is when it becomes a problem. All right, moving on. So this is the reason why I kind of put this spell in there, is because if you want to detonate a spell, you need to be able to detonate it with a shot, okay? And you need to be able to take Lash as well. So I'm not a big fan of Lash. It's completely terrible. It should not be in the game, but this is where we are right now. So moving on to Myth, decent school. I only have a couple of problems, which is buff stacking on a Myth. Schools like Ice and Death can counter buff stacking, which is kind of like, you know what I mean? It's simply easily counterable, if that makes sense. But when you're playing on a Storm or on a Life and a school like Balance, you can't keep up with this garbage. It says a lot. I feel like the Spear Blades can stay, Myth Blades, and the Treasure Card Myth Blade can stay. I feel like Sunblade and Moonblade can definitely go, including these 2 spells, and Keeper of the Flame, it needs to be nerfed to 35%. And yeah, because since it can counter shields and weaknesses, they should not have these type of buffs in the game whatsoever, because you can't simply say I'm going to shield and then clear that for 2 pips and then get like 2 buffs for free. It's crazy. That's all. Myth is pretty decent school, but against an Ice you can't really do this, because you can't aura against them. You can't, you know what I mean? Same as Death. That's why they kind of struggle against Death and Ice. It's completely free. But against other schools, like, you know what I mean? They completely, just buff stack against them, and they just completely win the game for free. So Just nerf these 3 spells on top, and then probably remove Sunblade and Moonblade. This school is decent. If you nerf Fire, they can probably do well in solo queue. Alright, moving on to Ice. So Ice is kind of like struggling right now. Shads, once again, Lash is problematic because you use it, they do no damage, and you take 3k Lash. So it's completely horrible. You take more damage than you deal, which is kind of crazy. So I feel like Lash needs to be removed. These spells are going to be great. I feel like Shadow Pip percentage needs to be buffed as well, so people can actually do a lot of use a lot of shads. Winter Moon, bring this back. This was only removed because of storms, and I'll talk about that in a second because storms, it does a lot, So that's kind of why like they struggle, against an ice because the spell used to probably do like half of their HP. So, and it just needs a decent shield counter. For dual schooling, I think maybe like a decent spell like Pirate Dragon. Believe it or not, it doesn't need to give them a buff though. It just needs to give them like I don't know, like a shield or a bubble or something like that, or a brace, if that makes sense. So decent shield counter that braces them up. And yeah, other than that, it's just like it's a decent school, but like you can't use all these amazing spells because you take 3k Lash, so it's not worth it. All right, moving on. Balance. I'm not really asking much for this school. We just need a decent trap counter, believe it or not. I know Locust Swarm is a trap counter spell. I know you can dual fire and like spam immolates. I don't really want to use a spell, that's not my school, in my personal opinion. A lot of people just dual fire and just like counter with immolate. It's kind of pretty boring, in my personal opinion. So just give them a decent trap counter, like, Spectre Blast could definitely be reworked if that's possible. Locust Swarm is decent, but it's not really that great, honestly, my personal opinion. Scales of Destiny, I feel like this spell needs to be brought back. And it was great, but I didn't like the one that was Echo into Shield, if that makes sense. So that's the one that was kind of like broken, so keep that off the meta, but I feel like the decent scales, like the pure damage one was okay. I feel like the DPP kind of needs to be reduced to 200, if that makes sense. But other than that, I feel like that's kind of what balance is missing. But decent trap counter, once again, and this is just an echo minion as the same opponent and no minions are coming back. If you use this, you just echo the minions that they have, so it's kind of like a cool little mechanic I just threw in there, but I don't really think the echo mechanic is really working perfectly, but I hope they intended it as echo the minion that the opponent has type of function, if that makes sense. Moving on to the life school, I feel like it's just another Lash problem. You take 5k Lash. If you use any of these spells, they cannot shot whatsoever, unless you have a kill shot. It's pretty boring. I feel like remove the shads that do a lot of healing. That's kind of broken, and technically just nerf their outgoing damage or outgoing healing, and just bring Weaver back. I feel like they can just simply trade and debuff, people that are doing a lot of damage. I feel like that's what it is, and I feel like healing just in the outgoing needs to be kind of nerfed. And if they're using any shads, I feel like they can't use Wings of Night because that's doing a lot of healing. Spells like this Grim and Lord of the Wild is pretty decent, but it's just the problem is when they're shatting for pretty much like a lot of health, that's when it becomes a problem, if that makes sense. And that's pretty much it. The school is pretty decent, so yeah. We just talked about life. Let's talk about balance now. Storm. So the school needs a lot of work. This is the best I can come up with right now. It says remove Lash, another school that does not really need to be punished with Lash whatsoever. They need a decent Pierce buff, 65%, and that's 5% plus what they had, which is they're currently at 60, if that makes sense. Lash needs to be removed from their spells, as well as buff in Catalan damage by a little bit, by 670 maybe, 670, and then Queen Calypso needs to be like hitting buff, like hitting trap buff, if that makes sense. Maybe a 45% trap buff or something like that, because technically Storm is like hitting buff school, if that makes sense, hitting bubble, hitting blade, hitting, you know what I mean, hitting aura. So they just need hitting trap, if that makes sense. 45% trap. It needs to be 4 pips. Simple as that. Decent for 4 pip, shield, and weakness counter. And this needs to be a fusion spells. Those are the 2 things that they kind of need for their off school, because they will just get grimmed and they can't do anything. So if they need it, if they can just get a decent weakness and 4 pip shield counter, the school is back online. I feel like they just need a decent outgoing pin buffed as well. I don't know why that was taken away. Barry kind of needs to be brought back so they can get out of kill range. Other than that, that's pretty much all I had. So hope you liked the video. Leave a like, let me know what y'all think in the comments, and peace.